again, cannot have mistakes like fumbles on special teams because they're going to be costly if the other team picks it up. Only 2 returned by Rice in terms of kick returns and punt returns. So, the returning game really wasn't that bad. The most frustrating part, though, the blocked punt and then the fumble, just costly mistakes just can't keep happening. And then the last thing is penalties. Arkansas had 3 personal fouls, 2 of those being targeting calls. And, I talked about that earlier. I'm not going to go on another, rant about it. But you had those, and then you had a situation where he touched, I think it was like a late hit out of bounds. You can't give up 3 flags for 45 yards and just against SEC opponents and not give them an advantage on field position. 13 penalties for, I think it was 122 yards. That's tough. And you just can't play that sloppy and undisciplined. But I trust Pittman to get these issues fixed during practice. And he said some guys, just didn't play like they practice. Week 1 to 2 is where a lot of improvement's going to happen. Yourself and me have the reason to trust the staff. There's no reason not to trust Pittman, Briles, and Odom to improve on the issues that were persistent this week. We have the staff. We have the capability. It's a whole different week next week. We got to play though, in the second half. I'll preview that whole Texas game next week, though.
Now, for the grades of the Arkansas Razorbacks.
Kicking off with the offense, I give the offense a C. Passing game, probably a D. Running game, an A. I just kind of balanced that in the middle. I thought the passing game just struggled a little bit more. The running game wasn't elite. So the passing game just needs to catch up on that number. Defense, I give a B+. Overall, the pass rush was much better in the second half. Run defense was solid the entire game. Secondary played well. Very impressed with the linebacker core, especially Parker. Just overall as a unit, they held their job and did what they were supposed to do, holding Rice to 17 points. Special teams, I give a D, and I know that may seem harsh because there's only 2 mistakes, but there should not be that many mistakes on special teams, especially against weak non-conference opponents. That's just not something Arkansas needs to be doing and giving away points in field position. I'll be back on Wednesday previewing the Texas game. That'll be a hot one. There's just announced a sellout for that game. Only standing room tickets are available. It's going to be a special weekend on the Hill. I cannot wait to preview that game. I appreciate you guys all listening to the preview. And like I said, a lot of these are just week 1, issues. Jitters. I wouldn't be too worried about them. Week 2 is really where we're going to see if these were week 1 jitters or legitimate problems. So, signing off. Woo pig suey.
That's all for today's episode of All Hogs Sports with Sam Stimson. Make sure to stay tuned for the next episode covering all Arkansas Razorback sports. If you enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on social media too. On Twitter and Instagram at All Hogs Sports Pod. Like on Facebook at All Hogs Sports and Arkansas Razorbacks Podcast. And on YouTube at that same name. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Go Hogs!